How are you doing, Plank?
Joe Bettner, I am good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's
Look
softball
at
time in
you.
Oklahoma.
Look at you. You're happy. You're not in the day-to-day grind. You got
It's
the black polo on. My gosh, I envy you.
I'm just
I envy you, Joe Bettner.
it's corporate, man. You got to go with the Nike black golf polo. So
I went with the t-shirt. You see my t-shirt paying homage? Creed is good.
I love it.
It's the only piece of Kansas City Chiefs gear that I'm allowed to own. And our spotter, Andrew Shepard, bought it for me because I'm a Raiders fan and he knows I love Creed Humphreys. So it's also one of the few shirts that fits me well, so I can actually wear it in public. Kind of makes you look like you're a little buff, but
The YouTube subscribe.
Exactly.
The YouTube
Not really as far
it.
as the collared shirt, right? I'm not cool enough for that, but yeah, dude, I appreciate you having me on. Really, really pumped up to talk some Sooner softball with you.
Well, I've already talked you up in the intro, but Chris Plank, the voice of OU softball, busy time for you around this around this time of year for Oklahoma getting into the NCAA tournament, top overall seed, fourth time in program history. Plank, just you've been doing this as long as you've been doing this. I'm curious just to kind of start off with weird Big 12 tournament. did not quite go as planned. But what is for you specifically being on the radio call and you kind of get into this mode of like now it's the real deal. These are the games that truly matter. What's it been like following this group in particular that has seemed unbeatable, but then obviously Big 12 tournament, they took a little bit of a setback.
Well, I got to go to Hawaii, so that was awesome. I'm not even going to try to lie about that. You think about, and there's a good core of fans, Joe, that does follow this team on the road beyond just family, and it's really cool to see. And you think about the places that they've gone over the last, decade to go to Mexico, to go to Palm Springs consistently, to head down to Florida and play in Clearwater. There's nothing that's going to top that trip, I think, in my sports history ever, unless the Raiders call and say, we need you to call the Super Bowl tomorrow. So it was, I hate to just focus on when you say the season once a minute, I get a little nostalgic about this time of the year with the season, right? And you think, my gosh, it's already almost over. There's only 3 weeks left, and you hope there's 3 weeks left. So it's been an amazing ride from that Hawaii trip where you break the record to 2 weeks before sitting with Patrick Dunn in Houston. And I hope the audio never lives anywhere. But when she hit 94, because it was her second on the day, literally we both were like, oh, she might do this now. And I think I even called 93, 92, because it was just crazy. She had a 4 home run weekend. So thinking about the madness of, oh my gosh, she might break this record here on a Sunday against Texas State. Then to see it play out the way it did, to watch this team just ride an incredible streak to start the year, right? And beat some really good teams. And to see that kind of profile of this program grow, Joe, it's been a wild ride. I don't want it to end.
I was going to say, I mean, you talk about the profile of the team. We've been doing Zoom press conferences with Patty Gasso and the players, and it looks like ESPN camera crew has been kind of following them around. Just the attention that they're getting on social media has been, and obviously it's just kind of a sign of where the program's at. But when they lost to Oklahoma State, you could see people celebrate like as if Alabama football had just lost. And it was a big deal. And I think that Oklahoma, for what it was, and I think that, Patty Gasso's touched on, like, they're at the top and they have to act like they're at the top. You're not the underdog anymore. I think people are tired of seeing OU softball win national championships, but they obviously have a great shot again this year. The offense and the defense has kind of really come along, and they've got a pitching staff that's good. To kind of go into to start with the pitching staff, though, I'm curious, just from your perspective, and I'm not asking for any big intel unless you'd like to offer it up on this medium. A lot of the big question I think a lot of OU fans want to know right now is about Jordy Ball. I'm curious, when did you learn that she was unavailable for the weekend?
I'm not going to lie to you. I never, even whenever I had heard that Jordy might not go this weekend, there is a part of me that, and if you've listened to a couple of the radio shows I've done on the ref, I've kind of hammered this home. physically, I don't know if I've seen a female athlete quite like her. I mean, she is unbelievable. And I would even take the gender off and I'd say athlete quite like her, right? I don't want to categorize it. That's how impressive she is. She's regimented. She's on fire for softball. She is a workout warrior. It's I don't think she would mind me saying, like, the gym, and Dane Summer, their strength guy, could probably attest to this, kind of her sanctuary, but gym, she loves to work out. So whenever I had first heard it, let's see, first game was on a Friday. I think that there was some rumors about rest that I had heard maybe on like Wednesday. And then whenever I talked to coach pregame, you couldn't help but I mean, there's some incredible sleuths on the internet, from looking at Instagram videos and pictures. And I looked like she was doing this with her arm whenever I was, watching her in warmups. And I won't lie to you, I'm running down and I saw what everyone saw, right? I saw the Twitter feed that I don't know who it was, but it was pretty wild to see it sprout up with all these alleged inside information pieces. You're like, whoa, what's going on here? And, I'm jogging down to the field to talk to Coach Gasso. And a guy, he goes, hey, I run through the stands because I like to say hi to the families, and that's an important relationship for me. But as some guy grabs, he goes, hey, is Jordy hurt? And I was kind of surprised, because I guess it hadn't really materialized in my mind how that was out there in the ethos. That was something that everybody saw and had been rumored. So, I was watching her like everyone was, following everything she did this weekend. And, you just keep that hope up that, hey, she's going to be able to battle through whatever she's battling through. But yeah, whenever coach officially committed to saying, hey, Hope Troutwine starting game one, that's when I was like, okay, all right. So they're really going to rest her this weekend. And let's hope that, Joe, she's better for it, because she is phenomenal in the circle.
I was going to say, you've just kind of the OU softball you've seen. OU has never been really short on great pitching, but she has taken it to a different level. But as a staff as a whole, I mean, Hope Troutwine and Nicole May are no pushovers. I think that there are more places than not that those players would start at if they weren't in Oklahoma.
You're right.
Just the way that this team has come along, I think the first part of the season, offense was kind of the story. They were beating, kind of like in 2021, they were beating teams by 20 runs, and they were, putting up big numbers. But I think the defense was a little bit in question. And it's kind of a crazy thing to say when you have a player like Grace Lyons out there, who is just one of the most remarkable shortstops I think college softball's ever seen. How have you seen this team grow, just as far as just kind of looking back at what they were in February? It's just kind of crazy to say that they have gotten better as the season gone along, because they were really good. I mean, they were really good in February, but they have gotten better. What's it like seeing that kind of growth from February to now?
Yeah. And it's fun. It's really fun to see. It's wild, because I was trying to pull it up, but my record keeping system kind of hit a flaw this week. So we've got a few folders to fix. But I was trying to dig back real quick to remember the numbers for Nicole May in the Super Regional last year. I mean, we talk about the growth of the staff in 2022 and what it's become this year. In 2021, G. Juarez didn't even pitch in the Super Regional, right? So to me, knowing what that team accomplished last year, I look at this year's, and that when people are like, hey, how is this different? What separates this team? Joe, my constant reaction was they're pitching it at an elite level now. It's and if it's Jordy Ball getting hit, she got hit a few times, right? She got hit against Texas. She got hit against Kansas. And it's so unfair, because you say she got hit, like she gave up 2 hits, which is normal for 99% of pitchers in any sport. But yeah, their growth has been phenomenal. It is a credit to Jen Rocha and the job that she does. Joe, if you ever get a time, I don't know if you have or not, if you ever get a time, debrief with her. She's so smart, and she explains everything in a way that, simplifies everything. So if she's doing that for me as a broadcaster and as a fan of the sport and someone who wants to get everything right, can you imagine what that's like for a pitcher, right, who's going through something? The job she's done with Hope Troutwine is phenomenal. Nicole May has continued to mature. we'll see kind of how Nicole can grind the rest of the way. I think the pitching staff improvement and the confidence that you can still have, even with the unknown availability of Jordy Ball. I think, Joe, that's a big time testament to Jen Rocha.
I was going to say, I spoke with Jen for the first time when she got the job, and I have not really had like a sit down with her ever since then.
She's great.
But yeah, no, I mean, she's very cool demeanor, which I think is kind of reflective of the team that they have. I mean, you look at Oklahoma's pitchers, and as many times as I think people would probably be amazed, and I know you've seen more softball than anybody, or more OU softball up close than anybody, but the amount of jams that they get in and are able to kind of get out of these situations, like you would think they're just mowing down lineups, but they go through their battles. But that's the thing that's impressed me, is just that poise. But then you see it on the other side of it with the offense. It's obviously been a terrific year for Jocelyn Allo and TRA Jennings, and Lindsey Elam has made a case for just being a super important part of this team. As you kind of look at this group, kind of just turn it to the regional this weekend, which will be in Norman. They'll have Minnesota, Texas A&M, and Prairie View A&M. It's always just one of those things where you expect Oklahoma to get through this weekend, get to super regionals. But I mean, is there anything for you in particular that you're interested to see how this team, and I'm assuming it may be as simple as how they respond to the loss at bat?
Yeah. Can I drill deep here? I mean, I don't want to nerd out too much.
This is Eyes on Oklahoma, man. We're not
okay. All right.
Corporate newspaper.
Okay. All right. Good. So here's my thought. And some might get mad and say, you're putting the cart before the horse. And I'll say, you're right. I am. I want to see how they play Sunday. I think that they've been an incredible Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday team. I want to see them close. I want to see them close on Sunday. I don't want this thing to go a fourth game. I don't want this to have to be this team, and it has the ability to do so. Joe, I think we've seen it all year long. I want them to close because they've been an incredible, and I'm going to use Friday, Saturday, Sunday for this argument's sake. They've been great in the first two games of a series. And listen, I think they put 20 on Tech. I think that, they destroyed Iowa State finally in their third game of the series, but kind of struggled that second game against UAB. Maybe should have lost that third game to Baylor, lost that third game to Texas. Didn't play all that great in that Saturday game against Oklahoma State. Needed a grand slam from Jocelyn Allo to save the day. Did lost in the Big 12 championship game. So that's me going a little deep. That's been one thing that has always, for this team in this year, and I'll tell anyone that'll listen, listen, coach doesn't care what I think, but I even say it's the weirdest thing, because my thought would be you'd get an ace out on a Friday that might baffle you a little bit, and you struggle and adjustments. That's happened a few times, but by Sunday, you're crushing. And like the exact opposite has happened 2 or 3, 4 times this year. So that's what I'm excited about, because I think they're the best. I really, really do. And they have to show, and by the best, I mean, I think they're the best team in the country. They just have to show it to the finish line, through the finish line, break the tape, none of this just kind of, all right, yeah, no, let's freaking go, man. You go into that super regional having made a statement where it is the fear of the softball gods that you're coming into Norman, if you're UCF or if you're Michigan or whomever, and you are facing a team that, we don't know about Jordy, that might not have its ace pitcher, but you're facing the nastiest offense in college softball. And I want to see that attitude all weekend long, and I think it's going to be there.
I'm glad that you said that, because it's a thought that I've had a little bit, just as far as that they've almost cheated death in a lot of ways this season. The Utah game comes to mind. They won that 2-1. It was a Sunday at like 10 a.m. The Tennessee game where they had to go to extras, and it kind of, I think, balances out a little bit with kind of the games that they've been able to steal, but they're not undefeated by any means.
Right.
They've lost teams and that are, I don't think that are better than them, but are capable of beating them. And I wonder, just from when you look at this team, that there's a lot of leadership, or there's a lot of veteran leadership. You have a lot of staples of this program like Jocelyn Allo, Grace Lyons, Lindsay Elam, but you have a lot of youth, a lot of players that haven't gone through. I love. I don't know. It's not necessarily a Pattyism, but she talks a lot about like they don't know what they don't know. They need to get in these situations. Have you seen that? Like just as far as just when you look at this team, is it still kind of, I guess maybe surprise you just like how good they've been considering the amount of inexperience and youth that they have?
Yeah. It is kind of wild when, and maybe there's a part of me that sees 5 super seniors. And I think people automatically think, well, they got a ton of experience out there. Their shortstops played a lot of games. Their third basemen played a lot of games. Their second basemen played a lot of games. They, at first base, you had, a little bit of a question. Riley Boone was out of the box her freshman year, but didn't play a lot of games. Alyssa Brito wasn't in an Oklahoma uniform last year. You start getting into kind of the bench players. It's a interesting note. And those freshmen that have come in wide-eyed, the Hannah Cores of the world, and obviously Jordy Ball's on a different level. But yeah, it's surprising. You look and there is a certain part of this team that you realize some of these. Hope Troutwine is a great example. Here's a super senior that has never seen anything like this in her career. And that's not a knock. Again, I don't want anything to be aggregated out of that. But Chris Plank says Hope Troutwine never experienced fun like this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say anything bad about Coach.
We've actually blocked all of the aggregators.
Okay, good job.
We have a very extensive legal team here at Eisen, Oklahoma.
But, this is new for her. And I'm so just pumped. I'm intrigued. I'm fired up to see how this team responds because, I think they've got the chance to really do something pretty special. And when they lost, bro, I mean, people were like mad at me. It's like, you're too negative on the post-game show. So when you were too positive about things, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. I apologize. But if you want to yell at me, don't yell at the girls. But to me, it's wild to think that they've lost 2 games all year long. 2. And they're still able to play with a chip on their shoulder going into the postseason. It sucks to lose to your rivals, man. And I understand we got to give it the state. It's not our state anymore by rights of, I don't know, a social media manager, not our state anymore. But yeah, it's wild to think that you're able to get that kind of motivation, and it sucks to lose that game, but to dial back in that refocus, that's pretty big time, man. I know it sucks, but it's a pretty rude, but I think challenging introspective moment when something like that happens. And I think this team they're going to rise to the occasion.
I think I got to ask you, you have 50-ish radio shows, a lot of things going on. Do you consume a lot of college softball outside of Oklahoma? And if so, what are you seeing from the rest of the country this year?
I consume a lot of it because I want to be smart. Like I want to learn the game, but also because I love hearing what other analysts have to say and learn from other play-by-play people. And then in that, I fell in love with Tennessee this year. And I fell in love with Tennessee because I saw them in person and then I watched them a couple times. So then I can turn that and say, wow, okay, I learned this from watching Tennessee. Am I right? Am I on the right lines with some of the people that are around the team? And, I like to share opinions with, guys like Jake Scroggins, who's the equipment guy, and Whitley Simmons and Rayleigh Pogue and Pat Dunn. We love to talk about what's going on around college softball. So yeah. I consume a lot. I really have been. I'm going to stick with Tennessee. I can't tell if Florida is this team that's a sleeping giant. I think Alabama struggled to get their offense going all season long. Oklahoma State's got to get its offense into another gear, but minus their ace picture, Miranda Ellish. I mean, Morgan Day has stepped up big time. So I think there's some teams that, we're used to seeing in Oklahoma City, but I think we could see some surprises. I really do this year, like we did last year with James Madison.
It's going to be a fun few. You mentioned earlier, just like the next 3 weeks, but it dawned on me that it's going to be 4 now with the extended Women's College World Series. I mean, Oklahoma's going to be playing all four. I mean, assuming they get to the championship series, they will be playing that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You've already kind of laid out that you think that Oklahoma will repeat. But as you just go into this mode, man, I mean, is there anything else just that you kind of look at this team and think about just what do they have to do to get there? I think is kind of what I'm asking.
They gotta hit it a little better, and that seems so dumb. I was pulling up the stats. I'll just be honest with you. I was pulling up the stats just before you came on with me, and my favorite number on this team is 125 home runs, while their opponent has 7. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, even think about the run differential, 463 runs this season. Their opponents have scored 45. So to me, and I hope I made this point on my local show well, and Joe, you can fine tune it for me if it sucks. But I think the great thing that I've noticed about this staff is that they're not ever, and this team, and I say this staff, I'll throw this team, you don't ever hear, we better pitch it better, or we better do it better. Point of finger. They don't point fingers, right? They don't, and they never have. And it would be easy to say, well, bases loaded, walk, but then it would have simple. You could sell each other and go, well, leadoff hitter aboard in the bottom of the 7th with 1, 2, and 3 coming up. So instead of doing that, which seems to dominate social media right now, that's not what this team is doing, right? That's not where they are. They're not saying, how dare you, X player, for throwing a wild pitch, or how dare you, Y player, for not getting out in the rundown, or how dare you, Z player, not getting that 2-out hit. They're trying to find ways to fix it collectively. This group works together maybe better than any team I've seen. And I think you see it sometimes when it's someone walking off and they debrief, and that debrief isn't quick. It's usually, here's what she's got. Beware of this. Watch this out of there. It's what we saw in film. They are, consistently fired up over their film study, and they got a lot of tools at their discretion. I think JT doesn't get enough credit sometimes, and he doesn't want the credit, but I think he doesn't get enough credit sometimes with the attention he puts into the film work, and watching him just going through slight things. Great example. Earlier this year, Lindsey Elam was struggling. They changed her swing just slightly, kind of changed her point, and she went on a big home run tear. And whenever maybe teams caught up to it, they adjusted again. So it's a team that's not going to sit here and say, we got to pitch it better, we got to hit it better, we got to play defense better, we got to whatever. They get it. It all comes together. And I know Coach Gasso, I know she's driven, man. I think you're going to see this weekend, Joe, a team that's going to put on a show. I think you're going to see bases being stolen. I think you're going to see hit and runs. I think you're going to see squeeze plays. I think you're going to see first and third. I think they're taking the restrictor plate off. And not that it was ever on, but just maybe there was some of those opportunities and they were a little bit patient about it on Saturday. I think they're going to be, I don't think that it's a situation where you're going to see anything but their best heading into this weekend. And I'm here for it.